Today I'm going to talk to you about quiver tip choice on natural venues. So first things first, let me just explain in sort of layman's terms how you grade a quiver tip. When you get a quiver tip, normally it'll have a test curve on it. So it might say 1 ounce, 2 ounce or 3 ounce. What that basically means is the lighter the test curve, so 1 ounce for instance, the lighter the tip's going to be, as in the softer action. So like this is a 3/4 ounce tip I've got there. That's very, very soft, perfect for like smaller fish, etc. And then if you went up to this one, that's a 2 ounce. You can see there, bit of a different action, takes a lot more to move it. So when you're looking at your quiver tips, first thing to think about is test curve. And the way I sort of go about it is short range, small fish. I'm looking at light quiver tips. So like for like braid direct work for skimmers on a nice calm day, looking at like a little 3/4 ounce tip, fish it really slack. It's going to help me magnify the bites, just make everything easy to hit. Similar roach fishing in Ireland. If I'm ever doing any roach fishing at sort of 15, 20 metres, an ounce tip. What I'd say, small fish, rattly bites, a softer tip makes them much easier to read. That said, if I want to fish at distance, then I've got to think again about quiver tip choice, because a 3/4 ounce tip isn't going to be good for distance fishing. So I'll set a couple of scenarios. So let's say, first of all, I'm bream fishing at sort of 65 metres, open end feeder obviously, and I'm looking to catch fish anything from sort of 12 ounces to 4 pound. Now, if conditions are good, say I get there's a light breeze, nothing to worry about, not much tow, then I'll be looking at an 1.5 ounce tip. Soft enough to see the skimmers, but at the same time perfect for bream. That said, sometimes I'll get there and there's a massive wind on, or there's a big wind forecast to get up, and I know it's going to tow. And what a tow can do is it can lock your tip up to make bites very, very difficult to read. When that happens, if I'm worried about the tow, I'll just step up to 2 ounce. 2 ounce is soft enough to still catch bream, still see your skimmer bites. Plus, it's not going to lock up in the tow. Another benefit from a heavier tip is, aid with casting. If I'm really like whacking it out there and distance is important, going slightly heavier on the tip stiffens up the rod, just means you'll be able to cast that little bit further, a little bit more accurately, a little bit more efficiently, and as a result you'll catch more fish. So they're the quiver tip choices. It's pretty simple when I look at it. Shorter range light tips, longer range slightly heavier tips. What you've got to be careful, you don't go so heavy. You know, I can't think of an instance where I'd use a 3 ounce tip for bream fishing on a still water. 2 ounce tends to be the limit. Even in a big tow, I can just feed a little bit of slack on a 2 ounce and just keep that tip slack so I can still read my bite. So 1.5 ounce for bream fishing long would be my starting option if conditions were good. If you're a little bit in doubt or you're struggling for distance, then 2 ounce. One other point I would make, I get a lot of questions about shot leader work. You can fish, there's a bit of a misconception, like that tip there, it's got tiny little, well not tiny guides, but pretty much standard feeder guides. You can see that there. I've used shot leaders on these tips quite a bit, up to sort of 40 metres. I've never had a problem. That said, I wouldn't use tips with small eyes for trying to blast sort of 50, 60, 70, 80, even 90 metres. If you want to go long, then you need tips with bigger guides on. You can see that my distance tip is obviously got the big guide on it. If you can make them 2 out, you should be able to see them. So if you're thinking about distance work, think about the size of the guide on your quiver tip. If you're going to go long, bigger guides, you're going to make that shot leader knot travel through the rings a bit quicker. So you're going to hit your distance that little bit easier. So that's my guide to quiver tips. I hope it helps you with your fishing.